Parents had gone down.
I think that just. Yeah, that we're not included in the first one, because someone could be seen at home.
So I didn't take, oh, okay, well, I didn't. Right up.
That you've seen. Oh, is it?
Well, no.
Okay. I get it. I'm not even sure.
Like you could have bought it.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah Nickel, and I am the Administrative Assistant of Schoharie County Industrial Development Agency in connection with the project, which is the subject of this public hearing. I am also the public hearing officer for this public hearing, and we are holding this public hearing to allow citizens to make a statement for the record relating to the sponsorship and involvement of the agency with a project for the benefit of Mainbridge 2 LLC, a New York State limited liability agency, with a project for the benefit of Mainbridge 2 LLC, a New York State limited liability. Shannon Wagner, counsel to the agency, will provide the description of the proposed project and the company's request for financial assistance, along with further information regarding the purpose of the public hearing, the agency's legal authority, and the agency's next steps. Once Ms. Wagner is finished, I will then open up this public hearing for comments.
The proposed project consists of the following. A1, the acquisition of an interest in one or more parcels of land containing an aggregate of 3.03 acres and located at 218 Main Street in the village of Schoharie and town of Schoharie, Schoharie County, New York. The construction thereon of a two-story building to contain approximately 38,800 square feet of space, and the acquisition and installation therein and thereon of certain machinery, equipment, and other personal property, all of the foregoing collectively referred to as the project facility. The project facility will be partially owned by the company Mainbridge 2 LLC and operated by Schoharie Dental PLLC or such other person or entity as may be designated by the company and agreed upon by the agency as a medical office building and dental services building and other directly and indirectly related activities. B, the granting of certain financial assistance within the meaning of the general municipal law, including potential exemptions from certain sales and use taxes, real property taxes, real estate transfer taxes, and mortgage reporting taxes. And C, the lease with an obligation to purchase or sale of the project facility to the company or such other person as may be designated by the company and agreed upon by the agency. Legal authorization and powers of the agency. The provisions of Chapter 1030 of the laws of 1969 of New York, constituting Title I of Article 18-A of the General Municipal Law, Chapter 24 of the Consolidated Laws of New York as amended, and Chapter 114 of the 1973 laws of the State of New York as amended, codified as Section 905-A of said General Municipal Law, authorize the agency to promote, develop, encourage, and assist in the acquiring, constructing, reconstructing, improving, manufacturing, and equipping and furnishing of manufacturing, warehousing, research, commercial, and industrial facilities, among others. Pursuant to Section 859-A2 of the General Municipal Law, prior to the agency providing any financial assistance as defined in the General Municipal Law of more than $100,000 to any project, the agency, among other things, must hold a public hearing pursuant to Section 859-A of the Act with respect to said project. Since the proposed financial assistance to be provided by the agency with respect to the proposed project may exceed $100,000, then prior to providing any financial assistance of more than $100,000 to the proposed project, the agency must hold a public hearing on the nature and location of the project facility and the proposed financial assistance to be provided by the agency with respect to the proposed project. After consideration of the application received from the company to the members of the agency adopted a resolution on January 12th, 2026, authorizing the chairperson of the agency to conduct this public hearing with respect to the proposed project pursuant to section 859-A2 of the Act. The chairperson of the agency caused a copy of the certified public hearing resolution to be mailed on January 12th, 2026 to the chief executive officers of Schoharie County and of each city, town, village, and school district in which the proposed project is or is to be located. Additionally, the chairperson of the agency caused notice of this public hearing to be mailed on January 12th, 2026 to the chief executive officers of the county, the town, the city, the school district, and the village. Published on January 16th, 2026 in the Mountain Eagle, a newspaper of general circulation available to the residents of the village of Schoharie. And C, posted on January 15th, 2026 on the agency's website and also on a public bulletin board located in the village of Schoharie village offices located at 300 Main Street in the village of Schoharie. Copies of the notice of the public hearing are available on the table. They were available on the table. We have also made arrangements for a stenographer to be present in order to accurately create a record of this public hearing. Now, unless there is any objection, I am going to suggest waiving the full reading of the notice of the public hearing and instead request that the full text of the notice of the public hearing be inserted into the record. The comments received today at this public hearing will be presented to the members of the agency at or prior to the meeting at which the members of the agency will consider whether to approve undertaking the proposed project and granting financial assistance in excess of $100,000. Such meeting is currently scheduled for February 12th, 2026. Such meeting, like all meetings of the agency, will be open to the general public. The notice of this public hearing indicated that written comments could be addressed to Trevor Bender, the Chief Executive Officer of the agency. We received one written comment at the public hearing, and I'm not aware of any other written comments submitted to date. I will now return the floor to Sarah for purpose of recognizing any representatives from the company and any citizens in attendance wishing to make a public comment.
Thank you, Shannon. I will now introduce Dr. Al Bialy and Pierre Bruno of the company who will describe the proposed project in further detail.
Sure. Hello, everyone. So Dr. Al Bialy here. I have a practice to date that employs 86 full and part-time individuals. He's bursting at the seams and has worked very hard to secure the property, the subject property, where he operates today. To develop into a 38,000 square foot, 2-story medical office. With that comes significant expense around site work. I think today we have about a $3.2 million budget to improve the site itself, raising it out of the floodplain and whatnot. So with that, we have determined this new opportunity will create about 30+ jobs over the next 3 years. And we'd like to ask for this assistance primarily to get the project financed, right? So banks have a debt service coverage requirement. You only charge so much rent. So the basis of our discussion is really around helping us cover some of that site work cost that's mostly through the equity and cover and secure finance. Any questions?
This is like to tie you through construction, like a construction loan or something?
It's the equity to get financing to achieve, right? So we have to maintain a debt service coverage covenant.
What does that mean?
That means, so,
Nothing to do with the loan.
right. So, a lender is going to require that a developer meet certain criteria throughout the life of a loan, right? And in order to minimize the expenses of an annual basis, to achieve that level of coverage, we are requesting a reduction through a pilot. So debt service coverage is a measurement that we test every year in the banking world, and you have to abide by that or you're in violation or default. So very common reason why most people apply for pilots.
Sort of like when you go for a mortgage, you have to have the income to.
You have to have the income, but on a commercial property like this, you have to meet a certain covenant every year to satisfy the letter. That just shows that you have the wherewithal of income,
Right.
to pay the
Same.
right. So without the presentation of a pilot, we are in violation. We will likely not secure.
Right, so the financials of medical practice and of the apartment complex that's going in behind it don't cover what it will cost to finance it. Is that the point?
The cost involved to convert the site into a buildable parcel
Right,
out of the floodplain is really what drives up the cost of the total project.
I understand.
And that's what in turn,
And then it doesn't.
and then it's fine, right? So we need time to ramp up. So what we're doing is we're just asking for a deviation from a typical policy, right? So your typical pilot, in my experience, 0 payments for 5 years, and then it goes to 50% in year 6.
Mhm.
In this case here, we are offering smaller payments during the first 5 years, but we're not gonna get to 50% until year 10. Right,
So it wouldn't be until year 10 that your financials look like you can afford the mortgage.
well, no, it's going up, right, every year. So we get to a point where as the practice grows, as rents increase over time, we have the sufficient excess cash to cover the debt service to meet those covenants.
There is.
Are you paying the current level that tax is required on the property today? And then you'll be paying more in the first 5 years and more and more and more?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So we're paying taxes as they are today,
Sure.
and then we'll pay, I don't know if you have the actual declaration, but
schedule.
there's 5% in year 2, 10% in year 3, 50% of the anticipated. So it's either 0 for 5 years or 0 till the next developer comes along, or 5, 10, 15, 20. Not to mention, I mean, that's a revenue component. You obviously, you're keeping, 86 employees here. You're gonna add another 30. Hopefully they're walking around downtown in the village and spending money and are helping us create that vibrancy.
Do you have somewhat of an assessed value thought?
Yeah, so I talked to the assessor's office, based on the construction budget, we came up with about a $6.2 million assessed value. So $10 million in hard costs, and then we have 62.5%, I think was the conversion. So the assessment is based on 6.2 million.
Got it. And all this also factors in like DRI funding and stuff. Yeah.
Essentially, most of our grant money is going to the site. And DRI has not been, right?
No,
Yeah.
well,
Right.
right.
But the bulk of what you asked for is almost half of what DRI is. And you have housing associated with it, so I think you're probably in a good spot to get it.
Yeah, well, there's 2 projects here, right? So
Right.
we're focusing on commercial right now, and then if we shift to residential, depending on.
The parcel is also residential. How come that's not mentioned?
Parcel is currently in process of being subdivided, right? So there's a lot line adjustment taking place. So there'll be a second project behind this.
On a separate parcel.
Correct. So this parcel is realigned, if you will. So again, for purposes of development, we'll have a commercial parcel and we'll have a business.
Nice. So will that also need a pilot application?
We'll see. We haven't got far enough with contractors and budgets. That site also, there's also expected to see that.
Right.
Stormwater retention.
When she was just talking about this, I'm kind of naive about pilots, but
We're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. I should open this up for public before we
Well, and
maybe
just,
continue.
just as a reminder, this is not a Q&A period. This is a public hearing where we're presenting the project.
All right, before we open it up, is there anyone from the tax jurisdictions that would like to make a remark? No. So I will now open the public hearing for public comment at 6:14 p.m. By way of operating rules, if you wish to make a public comment, please raise your hand and I will call on you. Please wait to be recognized. Once recognized, please stand and state your name and address for the record. When everyone has had the opportunity to speak, I'll conclude this public hearing. A record of this public hearing will be prepared and reviewed by the members of the agency in connection with the agency's consideration of the proposed project. Again, the purpose of this public hearing is to solicit public comment. We are not here to answer questions. However, we will, in the course of this public hearing, consider questions if we have the information to answer the questions and there is sufficient time to consider such questions. I'll now ask if there's anyone in attendance who wishes to comment on either the nature and location of the project facility or the proposed financial assistance being contemplated by the agency with respect to the proposed project. For the record, please state your name and indicate your comments on either the proposed project or the proposed financial assistance being contemplated by the agency with respect to the proposed project. Is there any?
It's about this.
I have your name, please.
Oh, Colleen
Yeah.
Henry, I'm the
Thank you.
mayor.
Thank you.
Why isn't the entire IDA board here?
This is not a meeting
It's
of the
not a-
IDA, it's a public hearing.
So they don't do their own public hearings? I mean,
I'm
I'm
from
new, I
the-
don't know anything about the
I'm
IDA.
the IDA and Gail is a board member. We don't need the full board for a public hearing.
Okay.
The board approved
The board received the application
Yes.
describing the project and they'll receive the record that the stenographer is preparing. And they'll be able to review that and consider this at their next meeting, which is currently scheduled for February 12th.
And that's the one that we can attend, that you'll be discussing this.
You can attend any meeting
You
of the
can,
IDA.
yes.
Oh,
How long will you be accepting public comment? I'm sorry, Tom Hitter. How long will you be accepting written comments?
We can leave the public comment period open until 5 PM on the day of the meeting.
Any other comments?
Sure, I thought you were going to go through that list, though.
Oh,
Folks that
I
signed
can
up.
if you wanted. People have already begun talking, so. So Julie, let's.
So I defer to the taxing jurisdiction that signed up to speak, because I think you asked them if they were here to speak first. Do you want, go ahead. No, go ahead. I'll hold comment until.
Peter Johnson. Full disclosure, I was a member of the IDA board when we created the original uniform tax exemption policy. But I'm very much in favor of this deviation that is being proposed. I think it's much fairer to the taxing jurisdictions. One reason that I say that is all four of these taxing jurisdictions are under some financial stress these days. Most recently, the state comptroller put Schoharie Central School on the potentially fiscally distressed list. Certainly the village has lots and lots of expenses, and 54% of our property is tax exempt in one way or another. So there's a minority of the property owners have to come up with the property taxes. The same is true of the town and the county. Having said that, I think this is a very fair presentation and one that everybody can live with. I would make one suggestion to the IDA board. I think that the tax should begin in year one rather than year two. The reason for that, one of the reasons for that is, again, we need to make up revenue, and that's not a significant increase. It would reduce the term from 16 to 15. And I don't think that would affect the covenant very much if you moved it up 1 year. But the other is that the village is in fact providing a significant amount of financial support to the project to begin with. This was when we went through the DRI process, this was, if not the highest rated, it was the second highest rated. The village is very much, the residents of the village are very much in favor of this. But nonetheless, $2 million out of 9.7 of the amount that we won or were awarded by the state will be directed to this. In addition, we applied for, through the county, for an additional $350,000 infrastructure grant, which was designated for the Great American Main Bridge 2. So I think an adjustment of the nature that I've suggested would be beneficial to the village, and since it won't really affect covenants or credit worthiness, I think it's one that the IDA should consider.
Thank you. Steve Babbitt? No? Tom? No? Julie?
Sure. So I'm Julie Pichetti with SEEK, Schoharie Economic Enterprise Corporation. We are in support of the project. We recognize the current site is blighted, vacant, underutilized for a generation. I think it's currently assessed at just over $100,000. As I understand it, this part of the development alone will move the assessed value, as you understand, to $6.2 million. That's an extraordinary change of the land value in and of itself with those improvements. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but I understand that they will start making payments immediately, I thought. That's what you said in the first 5 years?
We have 0% in year one.
0% in year
Yeah,
one, so
and then
that's what Peter.
5% in year two, yeah.
Okay, so the first year during construction,
No, this is after CO.
after CO?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we'll be paying the current tax during construction.
Right, and then you would kick in after the first year on moving from a $100,000 assessed value to a $6.2 million assessed value, and you'll pick up an extra 5% of that 6.2. Is
Correct,
that how I
yeah,
understand it?
the estimated payment without a pilot is $251,000 a year.
Which makes the project unviable, infeasible,
Not a
would
chance.
not move forward, period, in addition to not meeting the banking criteria.
Correct,
Okay.
it's not possible.
And it's proposing, I believe Dr. E's is the largest private employer in the village of Schoharie with 80 some jobs and another 30 proposed. So I think that's pretty extraordinary. It's what we look for in economic development, professional positions, which we really appreciate as well. So the land value changes dramatically. The retention of jobs and expansion of jobs changes significantly. The payments to the taxing jurisdictions, while not immediate in year one, will certainly grow exponentially over that term of the pilot. And that's exactly what pilots are meant to do, is to reward these kind of extraordinary investments in the community. It is uncertain whether the DRI money will be awarded to this project. It's likely some. We don't know if all of the ask will go to this particular project at this time, and we won't know that for a couple of months at least. So again, as an economic development group in Schoharie County, we do support this particular project. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Julie. Are there any other comments? So if there are no further comments, I will now close this public hearing. At 6:23. Thank you.
So. People by Zoom to, it doesn't, or is that in heaven?